Welcome back to Easily Explained, where today we will be talking more about irregular preterite tense verbs. So let's get started. In the last video, we talked about the formula for irregular preterite tense verbs for most of the verbs that we talk about when we talk about irregular ones. We talked about the ending and how to combine the AR chart and the ER-IR chart, which aspects to take from either chart to come up with a brand new chart for irregular preterite tense verbs, or at least the ones that follow that chart, which is iste o, imos, istes, eram. And we also notice that there are no accents in irregular preterite tense verbs, and that is one thing that's going to stay constant. We practiced the correct endings for irregular preterite tense verbs and how to take that, how to write conjugation chart. Iste o, imos, istes, eram. So now that these endings are completely memorized in your brain, we can move on and we can look at stems of the verbs that follow this chart. If you recall, in the last video, I talked about tener, how there's not that same stem anymore as it was in the present tense. It becomes tuv, tuv. So it would be tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvisteis, tuvieron. So today we're going to be talking about different stems of different verbs that follow this pattern, so then we can put the stem and the ending together and come up with the irregular verb. So we're going to talk about some of the most common irregular preterite tense verbs that follow this pattern. We're just going to list them out and then look at all of their stems. And that way, in the future, we can put them together. We can put the stem together and we can put the ending together and we can have our irregular preterite tense verb. I talked about tener. Tener in the present tense also has a little bit of a irregular form. That's why we cover it separately. But in the preterite tense, it is also irregular. That means it is it's a irregular preterite tense verb. Of course, there's a new stem, tuv, and then our ending, so tuv, and then you attach the irregular preterite tense ending that you need. And tener is a pretty special verb to start irregular preterite tense verbs because there are other verbs that then follow or are similar to that stem. And then if we talk about the full conjugation chart, obviously the formula is going to be the same, so the endings are going to be the same. Estar is one of those verbs that the stem itself is similar to tener. You just add an es to the beginning of the stem of tuv and it becomes estuv, and then you would add your correct preterite tense ending, so it would be like estuvo for he is. Saber means to know and its stem is su. Poder means to be able to, and its stem is bud. So this one is maybe one of the easier ones where it's a little bit easy to remember. It only really changes the O, it becomes a U, so bod becomes bud. And you should keep that in mind when we talk about the next verb, since it also starts with a P and you don't want to get confused. So remember poder with bud, the D and the D. Because poner, which means to put, becomes bus. Why isn't it bun? It's a mystery. But you want to make sure you don't confuse the two since they are almost the same other than one consonant. So make sure that you keep the differentiation of poder to pud in your mind so that you don't forget which one is pude and which one is pus. Also remember that poder is a stem changer in the present tense. And when we talk about stem changers, we talk about like boot verbs. So it becomes puedo, puedes, puede, pudimos, vosotros, podís, ellos, ellas, ustedes, pueden. Boot verbs, meaning they only affect this boot almost. We don't talk about this when we move on to irregular preterite tense. We don't use these stem changers. We use the irregular preterite tense verbs. If you think about it, stem changers are basically the irregular verbs for the present tense, but they have a little bit more of a structure. So, poder, we don't follow the same rules and then add the correct endings. That would be way too complicated. So remember, the new stem is pud, not puede or pod even. Hacer, which means to make, is hic, H-I-C, although that one gets a little bit more irregular in the el, ella, usted form, but it still mostly follows the same formula, so that's why we're including it right now. Querer, to want, the stem for that is quis. And obviously there's more irregular preterite tense verbs, both that follow the formula and that don't follow the formula, but these are the main ones, very common ones that follow this formula. There's also many common ones that we're going to go over that don't follow this endings, but we'll talk about their stems in later videos because right now it's time to practice these stems for the current verbs on the screen. Now it's time to practice. So for each of the exercises below, you're going to answer the question or write the correct stem for numbers 1 through 4. Numbers 1 through 4, you just need to write your stem for the verb given. Number 5 and number 6 is true or false question. And then if the correct answer is that it's false, then you want to write the correct stem of the verb given. Pause the video now and complete the practice. The correct answers are now on the screen. Saber is soup, estar, estur, poner, pus, hacer, is. Number 5 is false, poder is pud. Number 6 is also false because querer is quis. Congratulations, you are now an expert at the stems of irregular preterite tense verbs. If this video helped, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye!